The Creation Nakshatras, Part 6. Shravana Nakshatra, 10 degree 23D Capricorn, ruled by Moon. Symbol ear, ruling deity Vishnu, element earth, gender, feminine. Shravana is the nakshatra of divine listening. Its creative power lies not in impulsive action, but in perceptive attunement. It absorbs, understands, and then crafts precise responses in alignment with higher order. This is the nakshatra of education, storytelling, transmission of ancient wisdom, and structured communication. When placed in angular houses, 1st, 3rd, 6th, or 10th, it creates through intellect, moral order, and clarity of purpose. Shravana in ascendant, Capricorn rising. With Shravana rising, the native's personality is rooted in wisdom, patience, and observational intelligence. The individual builds identity through knowledge and quiet perseverance. Moon in Shravana here brings emotional receptivity, turning the native into a reflective counselor, traditional healer, or mentor figure. Saturn gives long-term influence, builders of institutions, teachers of ancient frameworks, or authority figures in heritage knowledge. Mercury creates structured communicators, language tutors, speech coaches, or content curators. Venus adds grace to learning, musicians, mythological interpreters, or designers of education environments. Mars fuels disciplined action, military trainers, coders, or karmic disciplinarians. Shravana rising crafts identity by blending humility with mastery. Shravana in 3rd house, Scorpio rising. In the 3rd house, Shravana's listening quality refines the skills of communication, teaching, and outreach. Moon or Mercury in this position creates storytellers, motivational speakers, or counselors with a gift for subtle feedback. Venus adds charm, lyricists, songwriters, or content creators with aesthetic polish. Mars sharpens message delivery, militant trainers, debate champions, or campaign strategists. Saturn lends structure to knowledge transmission, curriculum developers, language platform founders, or archivists. Shravana in the 3rd crafts expression from deep, quiet absorption of truth. Shravana in 6th house, Gemini rising. Shravana here builds order in conflict zones. The person creates systems to heal, structure, or guide others out of chaos. Moon or Mercury makes them therapeutic problem solvers, conflict mediators, policy advisors, or wellness planners. Venus introduces balance and comfort, HR reformers, workplace culture designers, or hospitality leads. Mars acts with righteous purpose, public defenders, field educators, or NGO field workers. Saturn brings karmic order, those who create healing protocols within bureaucracies or legacy organizations. Shravana in the 6th crafts service systems through deep moral clarity and patient articulation. Shravana in 10th house, Aries rising. In public life, Shravana becomes a transmitter of timeless wisdom. These natives are seen as knowledge keepers, educators, and curators of morality. Moon or Venus in Shravana brings public acclaim through emotional resonance, musicians, historians, or welfare educators. Mercury creates communicative leaders, public speakers, media anchors, or educational tech founders. Mars turns it into mission, political visionaries, moral law enforcers, or karmic reformers. Saturn lends structure and endurance, university founders, dharmic politicians, or archivists of social memory. Shravana in the 10th manifests visible legacy through learned contribution, deeply rooted in listening and teaching. The Creation Nakshatras, Part 7. Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, 20 degrees Aquarius, 3 degree 20 Pisces, ruled by Jupiter. Symbol, twin faces, sword, ruling deity, Aja Ekapada, element ether, gender, masculine. Purva Bhadrapada embodies fierce visionary creation. It is not gentle or ornamental. It creates by confronting extremes, shaking falsehoods, and holding the tension between dualities. This nakshatra initiates spiritual awakening, often through intensity, contradiction, or shock. It births revolutions of thought, metaphysical ideologies, and transformative structures. When placed in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, or 10th house, it activates creation through disruption, reform, and existential insight. Purva Bhadrapada in ascendant, Aquarius rising. When rising, this nakshatra gives a profound, intense personality, visionary, paradoxical, and catalytic. The individual feels spiritually chosen, yet emotionally complex. Jupiter placed here provides moral authority and spiritual leadership, metaphysical teachers, occult scholars, or philosophers of radical truth. Moon adds emotional depth, spiritual counselors, dream analysts, or poetic truth speakers. Mercury sharpens intellect, writers of esoteric systems, channelers of alternate knowledge streams. Mars ignites transformation, astrologer activists, movement initiators, or tantric practitioners. Venus beautifies inner dualities, performance artists exploring myth, archetype, or identity. Saturn grounds mystical energy, rebuilders of spiritual institutions or ethical frameworks. Purva Bhadrapada rising creates identity by embracing the complexity of truth and shadow. Purva Bhadrapada in third house, Sagittarius rising. This placement infuses communication with depth, shock value, and philosophical tension. The native becomes a speaker of forbidden truths, a weaver of contradictions. Jupiter or Mercury in this position creates teachers of mystical systems, Kabbalah experts, Vedic astrologers, or researchers of altered states. Moon or Venus lends poetic depth, spoken word performers, transformational writers, or voice-based healers. Mars adds cutting edge, truth revealers, journalistic revolutionaries, or whistleblowers. Saturn anchors complexity into systems, authors of structured mysticism, curriculum designers for spiritual education. Purva Bhadrapada in the third house creates through contradiction and insight, often unsettling but liberating. Purva Bhadrapada in sixth house, Leo rising. In the battlefield of the sixth, this nakshatra becomes a reformer of dysfunction. The native engages in existential service, exposing deep societal flaws, transforming crisis zones, or challenging injustice. Jupiter or Moon leads moral reform, truth-tellers in medicine, law, or spiritual advocacy. Mercury offers logical transformation, consultants, diagnostics experts, or mind-body healers. Mars activates service through intensity, rehabilitation warriors, trauma release experts, or conflict resolution catalysts. Venus softens impact, those who bring compassion into justice systems or beauty into recovery. Saturn endures karmic correction, public health architects, spiritual lawyers, or karmic debt counselors. Here, creation is rooted in liberation from systemic shadow. Purva Bhadrapada in 10th house, Taurus rising. This is the public visionary, the person who births lasting structures from metaphysical or reformist foundations. Jupiter lends public visibility to spiritual leadership, philosopher kings, reformist gurus, or educational revolutionaries. Moon or Venus brings emotional resonance, those who create transformative media, spiritual storytelling, or mystical art that challenges norms. Mercury crafts articulate mysticism, authors of groundbreaking knowledge systems, occult technologists, or visionary strategists. Mars drives fierce reform, human rights defenders, warrior mystics, or thought rebels. Saturn builds lasting mystical infrastructure, founders of spiritual organizations, esoteric education centers, or dharmic institutions. Purva Bhadrapada in the 10th crafts legacy through spiritual disruption and ideological boldness, building the future by confronting illusion. The Creation Nakshatras, Part 8, Vishakha Nakshatra, 20 degrees Libra, 3 degree 20 Scorpio, ruled by Jupiter. Symbol triumphal arch, ruling deity, Indra Agni, element fire, gender female. Vishakha is the nakshatra of ambition-driven creation. It builds not just to begin, but to win. Fueled by Jupiter's vision and Indra Agni's combined force, Vishakha seeks success through effort, intensity, and targeted action. This is the builder of goals, institutions, and reputational power. Creation here is focused, competitive, and purposeful. When Vishakha influences the 1st, 3rd, 6th, or 10th house, it drives the native to manifest success through transformation, strategic partnerships, and goal fixation. Vishakha in ascendant, Libra rising. With Vishakha rising, the personality becomes both charming and deeply determined. Beneath the diplomatic exterior lies a focused competitor. Jupiter placed in Vishakha here grants visionary charisma, motivational speakers, life strategists, or social entrepreneurs who lead by belief. Venus adds aesthetic magnetism to ambition, style influencers, beauty brand founders, or high-level negotiators. Moon brings emotional precision, public figures who convey strength through vulnerability, like therapeutic speakers or spiritual mediators. Mars intensifies goal orientation, those in law enforcement, politics, or high-stakes enterprise. Mercury offers verbal agility and strategic intelligence, lawyers, brand consultants, or elite coaches. Saturn grounds their rise, institutional leaders, legacy planners, or high-ranking bureaucrats. Vishakha rising creates identity through the fusion of grace and willpower. Vishakha in 3rd house. Here, Vishakha energizes the communication and skill sectors with drive, persuasion, and intellectual firepower. Jupiter or Mercury in Vishakha makes thought leaders, orators, and business educators who channel ambition into mentorship. Moon adds emotional connectivity, storytellers, influencers, or platform creators for women's empowerment. Venus elevates persuasive charm. Luxury product marketers, motivational lifestyle vloggers, or seductive debaters. Mars crafts sharp communicators, political campaigners, strategic negotiators, or martial speech experts. Saturn slows but strengthens. Long-form writers, knowledge archivists, or structured curriculum creators. Vishakha in the third house creates through message discipline and relentless intellectual focus. Vishakha in sixth house, Pisces rising. In the sixth, Vishakha battles with purpose. The native becomes a champion of transformation within health, service, or legal systems. Jupiter or Mars here grants legal warriors, public health reformers, or administrative tacticians. Moon and Venus serve with emotional engagement, social workers, burnout therapists, or advocates for underprivileged groups. Mercury refines strategy, those who write policies or create process reform. Saturn endures in systematic correction, compliance officers, audit consultants, or karmic restorers. These individuals create by converting dysfunction into high-functioning systems. Their ambition often activates in direct response to injustice. Vishakha in 10th house, Cancer rising. At the pinnacle of the chart, Vishakha carves a public image centered on ambition, transformation, and legacy. Jupiter placed here delivers institutional creators, media leaders, or spiritual entrepreneurs. Moon or Venus gives emotional visibility, public icons who channel vulnerability into empowerment, brand figureheads, or transformational artists. Mars fuels unrelenting rise, political influencers, military strategists, or CEOs of turnaround companies. Mercury sharpens public discourse, reformist journalists, policy influencers, or master negotiators. Saturn grants structural durability, those who build empires over time, especially in law, education, or national service. Vishakha in the 10th builds empires not just to succeed, but to transform what success looks like. The Creation Nakshatras, Part 9. Moola Nakshatra, Vilguntu 30, Sagittarius, ruled by Ketu. Symbol, tide roots, ruling deity, goddess of destruction. Element, ether. Moola represents destructive creation, the power to uproot illusions, sever attachments, and expose hidden truths in order to create something more authentic and enduring. It is the nakshatra of radical reinvention, where creation begins only after deconstruction. Moola natives are the spiritual revolutionaries, researchers, and truth extractors who create by going to the root, intellectually, emotionally, and karmically. In angular houses, 1st, 3rd, 6th, or 10th, Moola activates fierce transformation and rebirth-driven creativity. Moola in ascendant, Sagittarius rising. With Moola rising, the personality expresses deep intensity, sharp perception, and a philosophical detachment. There is often a profound break from one's roots or a karmic narrative of separation that becomes a source of strength. Ketu as ruler gives spiritual edge. Identity is built through letting go and transcending ego. Mars or Sun placed in Moola in the 1st gives strong willpower, spiritual warriors, bold reformers, or mystic pioneers. Moon adds depth and emotional courage, trauma survivors who become therapists, intuitive healers, or dream analysts. Venus lends beauty to transformation, tantric artists, creative ritualists, or design-based psychologists. Mercury sharpens forensic intelligence, researchers, astrologers, or investigative thinkers. Saturn enforces karmic control, those who shape institutions after breaking them down. Moola rising creates by becoming the root digger, the one who destroys illusion to free truth. Moola in 3rd house, Libra rising. In the house of communication and skills, Moola carves messages that challenge, awaken, or liberate. There's a need to speak what others suppress. Mercury or Ketu here creates esoteric writers, Vedic researchers, or deconstructionist philosophers. Moon or Venus gives mystical storytelling, dream-weaving poets, trauma bloggers, or shadow-exploring artists. Mars gives bold articulation, truth-tellers, whistleblowers, or martial content creators. Saturn crafts long-form, detailed exposés, archivists, deep analysts, or myth reinterpreters. Moola in the 3rd creates piercing narratives, words that dig up the unconscious and replant truth. Moola in 6th house, Taurus rising. Here, Moola becomes a karmic surgeon. The native is compelled to heal by revealing root causes, whether in health, systems, or legal injustice. Mars or Ketu leads detox missions, surgeons, herbalists, or enemy neutralizers. Moon brings compassionate elimination, emotional trauma specialists, or grief coaches. Mercury crafts structured recovery, therapeutic writers, routine analysts, or holistic health planners. Venus beautifies the recovery space, those who bring sensual healing into work like spa therapy or touch-based professions. Saturn converts pain into order, those who dismantle toxic work cultures or build accountability frameworks. Moola in the 6th creates order by first confronting the decay. Moola in 10th house Virgo rising. At the peak of the chart, Moola gives public roles that involve transformation at scale. The native may become known for breaking cycles, social reformers, public educators in metaphysics, or systemic overhaulers. Ketu or Jupiter placed here brings mystical leadership, spiritual scientists, visionary reformers, or occult thought leaders. Moon or Venus brings emotive resonance, public therapists, artists who channel pain, or influencers on shadow work. Mars gives fierce visibility, activists, bold CEOs, or institutional disruptors. Mercury refines Moola's voice, strategists, tech visionaries, or thinkers who reroute how people perceive truth. Saturn builds durable legacy, those who lead by restructuring failing systems. Moola in the 10th house creates by confronting collective shadow and offering authentic renewal.